Around a dozen undocumented immigrants have been fired from President Trump's New York golf course after years of service. The Washington Post finds they were all laid off after working at Trump National Golf Club as the border wall debate escalated.
Most had received Employee of the Month awards and had pleasant exchanges with the Trump family, and some of them spoke to the Washington Post.
Como para que un día a otro te digan, ¿sabes qué? Esto se acabó. Y ya, te cambian tu vida de un día a otro, sin pensar si cómo pueden ser tan crueles de decir simplemente ya. No digo que no me dé nervios, porque claro que sí, me da nervios y también me da miedo, pero si uno a veces tienes que hacer algo por las demás personas.
So Joshua Partlow worked on the story and co-wrote the article on this issue, and he's the Washington Post Mexico Bureau Chief. Thank you so much for joining us, Joshua. Take us through your investigation and how you discovered the layoffs and convinced these undocumented workers to even speak on the record, because we could hear how fearful they are, fearful of being deported rather.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. So in December, when the New York Times published an article about two undocumented workers in the Bedminster, New Jersey Trump golf course, these undocumented workers at the Westchester Club reached out to the lawyer who was representing the Bedminster employees, and essentially wanted to tell their story. So it was more they came to us, and we were in contact with the lawyer. So when we met them all, there was more than a dozen in a small apartment in Ossining, New York, near the Westchester Club, and they. In the video, like Margarita says, they were nervous and scared, but they also were felt it was important to tell the truth about their employment there, and also they were frustrated that they were fired with so little notice and no severance.
So the question I think a lot of people will have is, why were they hired in the first place?
Well, I mean, I think it's common at all sorts of jobs, including golf courses in the United States, that they hire undocumented immigrants. A lot of these people came from Mexico, from Puebla specifically. They crossed the border years ago and made it to this part of New Jersey, or New Jersey and New York, this region. And they were hired because they do groundskeeping jobs and housekeeping jobs, and the wages are fairly cheap and they don't get benefits. And so, but it helps. They're good jobs for them, and a lot of people send money back to their relatives in Mexico. So, I mean, this is not an isolated incident. This is a vast labor force in the United States.
No, and I absolutely understand that, and I'm glad that you're making that point. But I'm curious more from a political standpoint why the president and his family, the course is run by Eric Trump, when they make such a big deal about border security and about undocumented workers. We understand, I think most of this country understands, that much of the labor that is needed to fuel this country is sometimes done by undocumented workers. But from a political point of view, why would they hire these undocumented workers? And on the other side of the coin, or out of the side of their mouths, talk about why having undocumented immigrants in this country is such a bad thing.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump's political identity is shaped in large part by the illegal immigration question. He's been railing against that, threatening to build a wall across the U.S.-Mexico border, has shut down the government as a result of it, and at the same time to be hiring illegal immigrants for years and decades is incredible. I mean, from these workers' accounts, there was a very lax process of verifying their documents. They would go to Queens, they would buy fake green cards and fake Social Security cards on the street, and then present them to the accounting office of the Trump Westchester Golf Club. In one case we heard one of the chefs was told by the accounting staff, these documents look too fake, go back and get new ones. So there was, according to the workers, it was an understanding that they were using fake documents and the company looked the other way.
Wow,
so
that's really unbelievable.
You know how a lot of people are going to respond. They're going to say, so you knowingly picked up fake documents and you brought them to this business. You're working illegally, and so those are the risks, and so you might get fired, and it is what it is. What do the workers say in response to people that feel that way?
Well, I think they say that they've been working there for 10 or 15 years. A lot of these people, and there was essentially an understanding that they were doing a valuable service for this company. They agree. They're not disputing that they bought fake documents, and that I don't think they're disputing they have a right to be fired. It's more. They want to be able to live and work in the United States. They think they should be protected from deportation, and they're frustrated with the way. For example, Social Security, if it's taken from their paycheck and they're not receiving these benefits, or they're not getting health insurance, they're not treated the same way as other employees, and yet they're doing the same job for years and years.
I'm sure if you scratch the surface of many businesses in this country, you'll find similar situations, and it's just heartbreaking to know that these individuals have worked there, in some cases, as you point out, Joshua, for more than a dozen years before this abruptly happens. But let me ask you what the Trump family is saying to you about this. What is their argument, not only for hiring these workers, but also firing them at this time?
When they did.
When they did.
Yeah, I mean, their argument is basically that they were, after the period when the initial newspaper story came out about the undocumented workers in Bedminster, that they did an internal company audit, and that they found there were these people at the Westchester Golf Club that had falsified documents, and so as soon as they became aware, they fired them. They say, Eric Trump tweeted yesterday that basically he blamed the media and said it was with all these problems in the world with Venezuela, and I think he mentioned the dam breaking in Brazil, that people shouldn't be focused on. People shouldn't be focused on the illegal immigration, or like a few people who submitted fake IDs to get employment. So.
When that's the whole basis of their political argument, it's the reason the president launched his campaign for
and shut down the government.
And shut down the government.
Joshua, thank you so much. Thanks for shining a light on this. The people that you interviewed have put their entire lives at risk in order to get this story out. We really appreciate you.
Joshua, before you go, what is going to happen to them?
So right now they're on, two employees from Bedminster, two from Westchester are on Capitol Hill right now with their lawyer. They're meeting with congressmen and senators, and they're, from their legal perspective, they want to be protected from deportation. They say that they're, material witnesses to a federal crime in the sense of this repeated hiring of illegal labor. And then their lawyer also is calling for an investigation, both a federal investigation and then a congressional investigation. So, I mean, whether that happens, it remains to be seen, but that's where they are now.
All right. Joshua, thank you.
Thanks, Joshua.
Thanks.